Okay, let's jump right in. Right now, a massive geopolitical trade war is literally colliding head-on with a very physical, very dirty supply chain. We're tracking the intense economic friction of these 2025 and 2026 U.S. trade disputes with Canada and Mexico. You've probably seen the headlines out of Washington and Ottawa. CUSMA, or the USMCA, is shifting beneath our feet as political maneuvers disrupt cross-border industries in real time. But for this explainer, we aren't just looking at macroeconomics. We're zooming in on a hyper-specific, highly vulnerable physical choke point. I'm talking about the Ontario-Michigan Municipal Solid Waste Corridor. We're going to explore how a sector that completely relies on a frictionless border is surviving this chaos. And, spoiler alert, we'll see how cutting-edge, edge-based AI is unexpectedly becoming the ultimate tool for international trade compliance.
To really understand the stakes here, we have to grasp the sheer physical scale of this trade. And it all starts with this staggering number, 3.46 million. That is the volume in tons of municipal solid waste that the province of Ontario exports to Michigan landfills every single year. Let's make that a bit more tangible, right? Picture a relentless, unending convoy of fully loaded semi-trucks rolling out of the Greater Toronto area, crossing the Ambassador Bridge, and emptying into the Detroit metro area, day in, day out, 365 days a year. Ontario generates about 12.75 million tons of landfill waste annually, so that means over a quarter of its entire garbage output is packed up and shipped right across the 49th parallel. It's a colossal logistical undertaking, and it relies absolutely entirely on a completely open border.
Now, when you look at the impact on the U.S. side, this continuous convoy of Canadian trash accounts for a massive 14.35% of absolutely everything buried in the state of Michigan. Crazy, right? And this entire cross-border corridor is driven by a simple, almost absurd economic anomaly, a Michigan state tipping fee of just 36 cents a ton. Yep, 36 cents. For decades, it's just been significantly cheaper for Ontario to export its chaotic construction and commercial waste than to build the infrastructure to process it at home. This tiny loophole created a profound artificial dependency. It's an incredibly fragile system, perfectly balanced on the assumption of free trade. But as we've seen throughout the latest year-to-date news cycle, free trade across North America, well, that's suddenly no longer a guarantee. So the geopolitical storm hitting this corridor really escalated in early 2025. President Donald Trump announced aggressive 25% universal tariffs on Canada and Mexico, primarily targeting border security and the fentanyl crisis. But municipal solid waste? It immediately became unintended collateral damage in this broader CUSMA dispute. And the political shockwaves hit hard and fast. Up in Ontario, Premier Doug Ford actually called a snap provincial election specifically to get a mandate to handle this looming tariff crisis. By March, Justin Trudeau stepped down, Mark Carney was sworn in as Canada's prime minister, and a whole wave of retaliatory tariffs began. Now, even though the U.S. Supreme Court temporarily struck down some of those initial tariffs, the Trump administration quickly pivoted. They structured a massive, targeted escalation announced for August 2026. And the waste industry, entirely dependent on that open border, was suddenly caught right in the crossfire. Okay, the trap formally closes on the waste and materials sector with the July 2026 Section 338 proclamations. If you aren't familiar, Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930 is this incredibly powerful mechanism that allows the U.S. to bypass standard investigations and slap severe tariffs on countries it claims discriminate against American businesses. In this escalation, the U.S. targeted $20 billion in Canadian goods with a crushing 50% duty. While the mainstream headlines focused on alcohol, dairy, and motor vehicles, the devastating blow for our waste corridor is actually hidden in Annex 2 under Proclamation 11046. The key classifications targeted: finished wood, pulpwood, MDF, plywood, and paper bags. And here's the most critical, disruptive detail of the whole thing. These 50% duties apply even if the goods are fully USMCA compliant. The traditional rules of trade are literally being rewritten. Facing a rapidly closing border and an impending 50% penalty on wood and paper exports, Ontario is hitting a terrifying capacity cliff. The province simply cannot afford to keep shipping millions of tons of waste into Michigan under these crushing economic conditions. This isn't just an environmental issue anymore. We are talking about a state of total economic panic. Because of this, powerful groups like the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, the OFA, are urgently pushing the Ministry of the Environment to officially recognize the biogenic portion of municipal solid waste as a renewable, carbon-neutral energy source. Their goal is clear and, honestly, pretty desperate: strengthen the economic case for keeping this waste at home, process it through domestic energy from waste facilities, and completely avoid the export penalty. But to do that, you have to accurately and cleanly separate high-value biogenic waste from just chaotic mixed trash. That is the hard part.
And this exact crisis is what the 905 Wood digital refinery was built to solve. They call it the sentient bridge. It's sentient because it relies on advanced, on-site artificial intelligence to actively see and understand the material it's processing. Think about it. In a world where raw, mixed waste is heavily penalized and cross-border landfilling is becoming financially impossible, 905 Wood provides the ultimate technological translation layer. It transforms chaotic construction waste into highly coveted, high-purity biocarbon. And crucially, it ensures this biocarbon rigorously meets the strict compliance methodologies required by international carbon removal registries. We're talking specifically about adhering to the intricate document libraries of Pro.Earth. This AI bridge perfectly connects physical chaos directly to digital compliance.
So you might be wondering, how does this highly technical process actually work out in the dirt and mud of an intake yard? Well, instead of just indiscriminately dumping chaotic trash, 905 Wood operationalizes incredible edge computing directly at the source. The workflow is powered by an updated Google Pixel 11 Pro running Android 17, utilizing the absolute latest LightRT AI stack features. It's wild. Right at the intake site, the operator uses the terminal application to visually classify the load. The system performs a hold-to-seal cryptographic attestation using the device's hardware root of trust. Basically, think of it like a digital, completely unforgeable fingerprint stamped onto a specific pile of wood. The moment the AI identifies the material, the digital refinery application workflow generates a complete PDF document package, a 6-layer document wallet. Boom. It immediately spits out your request for quote, your certificate of origin, and full compliance verification right there on the spot.
The true power of this technology is how it acts as an impenetrable regulatory shield. By generating that immediate audit-ready certificate of origin right at the edge using that mobile AI stack, 905 Wood reclassifies the clean diverted wood into a highly specific customs code, HS3825.0. Because the origin and the absolute purity of the material are cryptographically proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, the waste qualifies for treatment as a wholly obtained good. This precision classification completely bypasses that looming 50% Section 338 tariff that's targeting standard wood and paper goods. It is a stunning technological hack to navigate a massive geopolitical roadblock.
This fundamentally shifts the entire industry landscape. In the old paradigm, value relied entirely on the physical wood itself, right? A commodity that is chaotic, bulky, and incredibly easy to target with punitive border tariffs. But in the new paradigm, the true product isn't just the physical wood anymore. It's the DMRV, the digital measurement reporting and verification, the provenance data itself. This high-purity, tariff-exempt data serves as the ultimate regulatory bypass. Ultimately, 905 Wood is operating as a SaaS application service. By selling the data, and not just the wood, this SaaS model secures Ontario's industrial leadership in the Canadian circular bioeconomy. It proves that undeniable digital tracking is really the only viable path through a fractured physical supply chain.
So as North America barrels toward the highly anticipated formal review of the CUSMA agreement in 2026, the global landscape of trade has irreversibly changed. Tariffs are increasingly being used as aggressive geopolitical leverage, which leaves us with this final thought. When physical trade grinds to an absolute halt under 50% duties and tightly closed borders, will digital trust, cryptographically sealed right at the source, be the only currency that crosses borders freely? It's a reality the waste industry is already facing today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I'll catch you next time.